Hi everyone, I'm here to participate in a tag that's going around. It's the 2026 Beatles vinyl tag started by Mark Morris. I will leave a link to Mark's channel below. So there are 10 questions here to partake in, with the opportunity to do 5 bonus questions at the end. And I think when I get to the end, I'll delve into some of those questions, the bonus. To start with, we were asked to show our favorite Beatles acquisition of the year. Okay, the main one that came to mind is this. It's a Beatles display, a store display that I like collecting these, and displays are my favorites really right now. It's for, well, actually, the Baby It's You that came out, Beatles at the BBC. And there you have the main picture. And I never put this together, not yet, but this is the guts of it, which I guess you just put it together like a little display unit, and you have this on the top, and it will display. Okay, number 2 is show us a non-Beatles record on the Apple label. I'm not one of those people who collects Apple albums just because they're the Beatles record company. I know there are some people who do that. They want to collect James Taylor, Mary Hopkins. They want to do Badfinger. They want to collect everything just because it's on the same label as the Beatles. I never understood that. It's not my bag. However, I did pick this up once, Elephant's Memory album, because Elephant's Memory played on Sometime in New York City with John and Yoko, and this one is produced by John and Yoko, this particular album. So I did pick this up, and I remember when I first got it, I played it in the record store where I bought it, and I enjoyed it. I haven't heard it for a while, but I did enjoy it. And in the corner here, you can see when they're singing here, performing, you can see in the corner of John and Yoko. And let's take a look at the Apple label, because that's what the question's about, right? Apple. So there it is. Yep, it really is an Apple label. Okay, question 3. Show an album with a song where you love the lyrics, and then show an album with a song where you cringe at the lyrics. Okay, I'm using the US copy here. Excuse the glare. Rubber Soul. Actually, one of the lyrics that I've always loved comes from the song Girl. And the lyric is, "A man must break his back to earn his day of leisure." And I always figured that as a worker, certainly as a mailman, I broke my back every day. And I really looked forward to those days off. And that's why that resonated with me during my work years. I always wonder, even though Girl is a John song, I'd heard that Paul McCartney wrote that line about a man must break his back to earn his day of leisure. Not 100% sure of that. But on the flip side, speaking of Paul McCartney, from the Yellow Submarine album, I'm sure there are probably worse lyrics than these, but the first thing that popped in my mind is a trite song that I can't really stand. The song All Together Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, can I have a little more? All this kind of stuff. 5, 6, 7, 8, I love you, A, B, C, D, take my friend to tea. All this kind of like childish stuff. As I always say, though, the song All Together Now serves its purpose wonderfully and gloriously within the context of the Yellow Submarine cartoon, but it's a little too kiddie for me. Okay, number 4, recommend some Beatles books to Beatles fans. I've got tons of Beatles books I've collected over the decades, some of which I'm probably going to unload because I don't need everything I have, but some of the great ones. I'm going to start with Mark Lewison, Tune In, The Beatles All These Years, Volume 1. We're supposed to be getting at least 3 volumes. This is a great book that talks about much detail. And of course, you can go into the early days. There's a whole big extreme expanded edition where you talk about the Beatles' ancestors and their family early on. I'm not interested in that much, but Mark is really a great researcher. This is the definitive book on the Beatles. Tune In. Every Beatles fan needs to read this and to own it. Also, Bruce Spicer, any book that's compiled by Bruce Spicer where he talks about Beatles collectibles and the records in general. This one in particular, I just happened to have it at the ready, was the Beatles Rubber Soul to Revolver. And he really is exhaustive when he talks about discussing the albums and the records, the labels. So this is really for the real hardcore collector, really, more than anything. A lot of details to learn about, in-depth, well-researched, what you cover. Definitely recommend anything by Bruce Spicer. Also, You Never Give Me Your Money by Peter, I want to say the name right, Doggett or Dodgett. Don't know. Sorry, Peter. This is really good. It talks about, some like frank, candid things about the Beatles, and it's not all peaches and cream. There's some more heavy and complex stuff dealt with here. This is a good book that I read. Okay, also now, by Mark Lewison again, this book is The Complete Beatles Chronicle. It details events and important occurrences in the Beatles' lives. Very thorough. Also, the recording sessions. There's a book also that I don't have handy. It's on the other shelf that has the Beatles recording sessions details. Every day in the studio, what they recorded, when they recorded, how many takes they did, all that kind of stuff. Very important. Mark Lewison, in general, is an author that you can't go wrong with. Okay, this book is very valuable to me. The Ultimate Recording Guide by Alan J. Weiner. This goes to all kinds of things that the Beatles recorded and released from the earliest days in the 60s. It goes up to, I think, 1992, this particular book. A really important book that I want to talk about, and it's the first time that I ever read a Beatles book back in the early days. One of the first books I had from 1975 is All Together Now, which is Beatles discography by Wally Podrazik and Harry Castleman. It is still, even with the day and age of computers and everything at the keyboards at your fingertips, it's still a book that I consult regularly. It's a list of all kinds of releases, everything the Beatles released, either as a group or as a band, or they played on other records, or they participated somehow in other artists' work. It lists them all, and it's a really handy guide. I couldn't get the book because it happens to be in a place right now that's kind of blocked off. I can't get at it because it's really a mess in here, but I wanted to talk about that for sure. Number 5. What are your thoughts on the Anthology 4 controversy? Well, I'm glad it was cleared up, because at first I was pretty pissed, and a lot of people were pissed, that in order to get the brand new Anthology 4, at first they proposed that you had to buy all the anthology releases 1, 2, and 3 over again in a box set in order to get the new one. Well, of course, a lot of people made a stink and made their opinion known that you should be able to get Anthology 4 separately as a standalone, and then finally Apple relented and they gave it to you separately. So I'm glad that was finally worked out. But there's also controversy when it comes to that. A lot of people are upset because only, I think, 13 tracks, around, whether it's 13, 14, they were like about that, new material tracks on there, things we haven't heard, outtakes and things that have never been released before. But the rest of the album is stuff that's already been available on the deluxe box sets. Well, I have a friend actually who tells me that he just bought Anthology 4. He does not collect all the stuff. He does not have all the deluxe box sets. So for him, it was great. He thought Anthology 4 was terrific all the way through, because he'd never heard the repeated stuff before. He doesn't own the deluxe boxes. So I'm happy with Anthology 4, because for me, my first love when it comes to audio music of the Beatles these days is to get as many outtakes and different versions and vocals and run-throughs of songs that I've never heard before. So to have stuff like I Need You on there, which we've never heard before, Every Little Thing, and Tell Me Why, and so many others, especially the early tracks, even Baby You're a Rich Man from a later track. I don't care that they re-released other stuff. Number 6, name a solo Beatles song and show the album that you would have liked all 4 Beatles to have been on. When it comes to this question, I'm not of the belief, a lot of people are, that the Beatles together could have made solo songs even better. I think there are very few exceptions with that. I love the solo Beatles for what they are. I don't need all four Beatles to be on them. However, playing along with the game, I went along with an old standby from the George Harrison self-titled album of 1979, the track Not Guilty. On this album, George performs Not Guilty, his song. It's a slow, laid-back, gentle version. But of course, we know that the Beatles tried to record Not Guilty many, 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 many times. I don't know if it's over 100 times. They did a lot of takes. And none of them were deemed, I guess, right to do. But I love Not Guilty when we hear the Beatles do it. So I would like a version of Not Guilty with the Beatles as well. Okay, number 7, show a picture disc. And are you a fan of picture discs? Well, first of all, about being a fan of picture discs, I used to be more of a fan, I think, years ago. I'm not so much. I actually sold off some of my picture discs, but I still have some. And I got to tell you, I was going frantic over there in the records trying to find the first one that popped in. Because, I mean, I got so much stuff that I absolutely can't find all the picture discs. I didn't know. I said, whichever picture disc I first find, that's the one I'm going to show. And unfortunately, it was this one. Talk about cringe before? I don't know. We All Stand Together, the Frog chorus. There's a picture disc for you. Paul McCartney. That's the first one that I found, folks. Question number 8. If you were in the horrible situation where you could only listen to one Beatles compilation for the rest of your life, what compilation would it be? Well, my favorite Beatles compilation is the excellent Rock and Roll Music, balls to the wall Beatles rockin'. But if I had to pick my choice for a desert island, only one forever, I guess I got to go with the old standby, the Beatles 1, which has all their big hits on here, 27 tracks, the early and the late together. Okay, so this is what I'm going to use, unfortunately. This is what I'd stick with, honestly, to have all the big songs with me. However, when I was looking for this with the albums, I saw I didn't have this on vinyl. I know I had it on vinyl once upon a time. Where is it? Okay, number 9. Do you have an underrated Beatles song? And show the album it's on. Do I have an underrated Beatles song? I got many underrated Beatles songs, but the one I always go back to is on Hard Day's Night. It's When I Get Home. When I Get Home is a real good rocking vocal from John. Great drumming for Ringo. A little jangling guitar that I like. I love the whoa, whoa, I chorus that they do together. And I think the problem people have with this great rocking song is that they have a line in there, I'm going to love her till the cows come home. Come on, guys. It may sound funny, but back in the day, there was a saying, I'm going to do this till the cows come home. I'm going to do that till the cows come home. That was a standard line at the time. Well, I can only pick one song, but I could just as easily have shown this and picked Little Child, Hold Me Tight, Don't Bother Me, or Not a Second Time. Number 10, show a picture sleeve for a single. Many picture sleeves I have, many picture sleeves I love. One of my all-time favorites of all is on the Tally label. This picture here, Love Me Do, and P.S. I Love You. Okay, now it's bonus time. I'm doing some of the bonuses here. Number 1, show your favorite U.S. Capitol album. Well, my favorite U.S. Capitol album is the Beatles' second album. That's far and away my favorite, but I show it all the time, so another favorite right up there is Beatles 65, which is a better listen, I believe, overall than probably Beatles for Sale, probably, arguably. But what really makes this a great album is it has the singles on it, I Feel Fine and She's a Woman, which I really love the reverb version because, like I was talking about rock and roll music earlier, really brings them to life. It makes them sound a little tougher and more raw. So Beatles 65 is a great U.S. album. Okay, second bonus item. How about a solo song that's as good as a Beatles song? There are many. But the one I'm going to pick for this video is a song off Flaming Pie, Paul's 1997 album. And it's called Some Days. Some Days is a beautiful song, and it's scored by George Martin. And it's a song that could fit right at home on an album like Revolver or the White Album. Next question is, do you have any Beatles EPs? And if you do, show a couple of them. I have many Beatles EPs from different countries, but I'm just going to stick with the USA for a couple here. First, I have 4 by the Beatles. As you can see, 4 tracks on here. And also, this one on VJ, souvenir of their visit to America. Nice cover, 4 tracks on the VJ label. Whoops. And number 4, is there a Beatles song that brings back a strong memory? Well, because I was very, very small when the Beatles were doing it, the the memories I have of them when they were like doing their act and being together are very few. But I do have one for this record. I remember having this record and liking it as a kid. Hey Jude in 1968, which would make me 6 years old. And I vividly recall having this song and playing it and the B-side Revolution. But the memory that really sticks out is when the Beatles were on TV, and I believe it must have been the Smothers Brothers show in the United States, when my mom woke me up from bed up in the bedroom and said, "Come on, Joe, the Beatles are on TV." And I went downstairs and I saw them doing Hey Jude, that performance when the whole audience joins in with the Beatles. And although I love the song and I hadn't seen the Beatles in a long time, I related to them as the Mop Tops. So when I saw John with the glasses and Ringo with a mustache and the longer hair, and these weren't my guys. And while I liked the song, I was kind of mortified. But anyway, that's the story. Now, the last question here, the last option, I decided not to do. It was basically give a shout out to some of your favorite Beatles and vinyl channels here on YouTube. I don't usually do that. The reason I don't do that is I don't want to leave anybody out. If I, do a shout out to some people, I may forget somebody, and I don't want to hurt any feelings. There are a lot of great people out there, Beatles and just vinyl in general, and you'll find them. So thank you to Mark Morris for the opportunity to have fun with this, and thank you all for watching.